looked at him coldly and asked if he was that same dark magician. Target continued to look at her bloodthirstily through his eyebrows. Then he sadly closed his gaze, lowering it. Alicia looked down on him, her eyes wide, and asked how he dared to start a rebellion against their kingdom, and for that she decided to punish him. And she immediately waved her blade in cold blood and cut off his head. The magician's body immediately fell to his knees. The queen put her sword in its sheath, looking at the murdered body of the magician. Then her glowing silhouette convulsively grabbed her head. She stood on the red carpet and looked at her hand, trying to understand what had just happened. She looked at her hand when one of her eyes turned red. At the same moment, there was a wedding between Julian and Sarazad, who were standing under the patron's crown. The princess smiled tenderly, holding flowers in her hands. Julian looked at her with a smile through his bangs. The blonde looked at her crying husband, who covered his face with his fists. The main character was also happy, while Baron wiped away a tear. The orc and the healthy elf were also rejoicing. However, the main character was rejoicing with a bloodthirsty smile, clapping his hands. Xavier stared at the dark aura and the malicious smile of the gentleman, asking him if he could just go home because he was ruining such a wonderful event. The brown-haired man said that he did nothing but simply expressed his happiness. The knight continued to stare at him and did not understand at all, because he himself said that this would allow him not to fall into eternal slavery to the queen. Lloyd smiled maliciously, looking away, and asked him to think about it carefully. The registrar raised his hands, and Sarazad kissed her fiancé on the forehead, because he said that now he was important for both countries, although he himself was a citizen of Magentano as well as a relative of Samarkand. At this time, the workers held a white shawl and filmed everything. At this time, the man with the headdress watched the wedding ceremony through the mirror and realized that this meant that he still wanted to get him. The main character bared his teeth with a malicious, bloodthirsty smile and realized that if the queen tried to use her as a slave, he would simply run away to Samarkand and settle down there. Xavier narrowed his gaze, covering himself with his hand from the dark aura of the master, and now he